Okay, integrated one. This is test notes for your final test. Okay, so here we have a data set. This is going to be a test on data and statistics. We're going to talk about different things we can do with this data set. We could make a dot plot. Won't be the world's most interesting dot plot because we don't have a whole lot of overlap. So we put a dot. This one is also nicely in order for us. Put a dot at each point that we have in our data set. Oops, I got a 7. So, there's a couple of things we want to find. To find the mean, I simply add each number up. 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus etc. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points in my data set, so I divide by 14. I'm also going to be interested in the standard deviation. Now, with these, I can go ahead and switch. I'm going to switch over to Desmos. Desmos will calculate my mean and standard deviation for me. I'm going to switch my screen sharing here. And here I've already entered my data. Remember, to enter data, you go to this plus, add a table. I've got my data here in X1. You can put data in Y1 if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to. Since I've only got one data set here, I will just use X1. To get the mean, I simply type in mean X1 with parentheses around it. Turns out my mean is 8.64. I want my standard deviation too. While I'm at it, so standard deviation is stdev X1. So make sure you know how to do this. You will get Desmos on your test. Standard deviation is 5.11. So we go back to the whiteboard here. Mean X bar, X with the line over it, stands for mean. It's 8.64. My standard deviation was 5.11. Again, we're always going to calculate standard deviation with Desmos. You can calculate your mean with Desmos if you would like. Mode, remember, is most frequently occurring number. We'll talk about median in a second when we do the 5-number summary. Median being middle number. I have two numbers that occur twice here, 5 and 14. So I have two modes. I've got mean, 8.64. Mean, median, and mode are measures of center. Standard deviation, 5.11, is one of the measures of spread. Interquartile range is the other. So we can use our 5-number summary. We can use this to make a box and whisker plot, or we can just give a 5-number summary. It's also important for finding the interquartile range. So my minimum on my 5-number summary is 2. My maximum is 20. My median, I'm going to go find the middle number by canceling from both sides until I get to the middle. It's right halfway between 7 and 8. And I could do 7 plus 8 divided by 2. Or I can just think of it as halfway between. Halfway between 7 and 8 is 7.5. To find quartile 1, I must divide my set in half. And again, find the middle number. That happens to be 5. To find quartile 3, I divide the set in half. My middle number happens to be 12. So there's my 5-number summary. I can give an inner quartile range, which is always Q3 minus Q1. Or 12 minus 5, which is 7. I can make a box and whisker plot out of this. So I make my line here. My box goes from quartile 1, 5, to quartile 3. With a line at my median, 7.5. My whiskers, make sure these don't look like a box, but they look like lines with a line on the end, go out to the min and max. Now I'm looking at 20 going, is this far enough out to be an outlier? It's kind of far away from the others, but I don't know for sure. So I'm going to check my upper and lower fence. Remember, if it's further from the middle than these fences, then it is an outlier. And my lower fence is Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. Well, Q1 I have in my 5-number summary is 5. 1.5 times Q3 is 7, or IQR is 7. I calculated that just above here. 5 minus 10.5 is negative 3.5. I do not have anything less than negative 3.5. If I look at my data set, negative 3.5 is somewhere over here. Not there. My upper fence is similar, but I'm using my other end. So I'm dealing with quartile 3. Instead of subtracting 1.5 IQR, I add 1.5 IQR. People have asked me why it's 1.5 IQR. Well, that's what the rule says. I didn't make it up, but that's what it says. 1.5 times 7. 1.5 times 7 is 10.5. 12 plus 10.5 is 22.5. So I do not have anything inside my upper and lower fence. I could also make a histogram of this data. The y-axis, I'm going to put kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. The x-axis, I'm going to do 0, and I'm going to make groups of 4. And remember, I'm always going to do from 0 to 4, but not including 4. I've got 2 numbers there between 0 and 4. So I'll make my histogram go up to 4. From 4 to 8, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So my histogram, again, I don't include 8 on this. I get 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 5. From 8 to 12, not including 12, I've got 3. From 12 to 16, I've got 2. 16 to 20, I don't have any, and I have 1 from 20, including 20 to 24. Okay. Again, my number is only included on the upper side of these. And this is my histogram. And I can make a histogram with my data. Okay? Couple of things about my dot plot. What does my dot plot show me? It shows me specific numbers. It helps me order the set. It gives me a general idea of shape, but it's usually pretty spread out. The histogram gives me a little bit better idea of the overall shape as it clusters some of the points together. My box and whisker plot tells me that the middle 50% of my data, or the middle half of my data, is between 5 and 12, including those points. Greater than 12 is the upper 25%, less than 5 is the lower 25%. Okay, our couple examples of shape are symmetric. Symmetric data has both the mean, X bar, the median, capital M, and the mode, all right in the center. If my histogram looks kind of like this, again, roughly, it's never going to be perfect. My tail is on the right side. This is called skewed right. The tail's on the right, so this is skewed right. Oops, that's not very neat. The mode here is at the high point. The median has equal distance or equal area on each side. So how much this takes up on this side is equal to how much space this one takes up over there. And the mean is always pulled from the median towards the tail. Skewed left data goes the other way. And the tail is on the left. Mode is straight up at the top, the highest point. The median has equal amounts of area on each side, and the mean is always pulled out towards the tail. Okay. Our measures of center, median, I'll circle them in red. Median measure of center, mean is a measure of center, and mode is a measure of center. They're all different measures of center and have different places. Measures of spread, how far spread out they are, is standard deviation, which Desmos calculates, and interquartile range, IQR. And then these are my measures of shape. Okay, we're going to now talk about frequency distributions. So here we have a frequency distribution between action, romance, and drama for favorite type of movie from these three categories for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We're going to make it a marginal frequency distribution. And to make it a marginal, we simply add the totals. To get the total for 9th grade, I add 25 plus 16 plus 21, and I get 62. For 10th, 32 plus 15 plus 14 is 61. 18 plus 36 plus 12 is 66. 17 plus 15 plus 8 is 40. And when I add 62 plus 61 plus 66 plus 40, I get 229. I also do the totals running across the table. 25 plus 32 plus 18 plus 17 equals 92 for action. I get 82 for romance and 55 for drama. That is my marginal frequency distribution. We can take our marginal frequency distribution and make a relative frequency distribution or a relative marginal frequency distribution. If the word is relative, you need to know this by name. I take each number, I divide them by the total, and again, that's the total for the table. That's 229. Actually, let me leave a little more space. So that's 25 over 229. And that equals 0.019. I've rounded correctly. To make it a decimal, I move the or a percent, I move the decimal point 2 places to 10.9%. And we'll put these in here as percents. Romance, I do 16 divided by 229 and 0.0070, and I convert to 7%. Drama, 9.2 or 21 divided by 2.9 gives me 9.2%. And the bottom is totals. 62 divided by 229 is 27.1%. I can repeat this for 10th. And yes, I must fill out the entire table. I get 14% for action for 10th, 6.6%, 6.1%, 26.6%. 11th, $15.7%. And make sure to put the percent sign so I know that these are percents, not numbers. %40.2% preferred action, 35.8% preferred romance, 24.0% preferred drama, and 100%. If I add the percentages going across or going down the totals, I should get 100%. I can make that into a stacked bar chart if I want. I'm going to use the categories of action, romance, and drama down here. And we'll do different colors instead of symbols. 9th will be blue here. Action for 9th was 10.9%. I suppose I should label my y-axis. This is 20% here. So each line is 10%, 40%, romance for ninth grade was 7%. And drama was 9.2. 10th grade, we're going to do with green here. 10th, I've got 14%. Now I total that up. 14 plus 10.9 is about 24.9, pretty close to 25. 7 and 6.6 is 13. 9 and 6.1 is 15. 11th, we're going to do here in purple. Another 7.9, so 25 plus 8 is about 33. 15 goes from 13. About 28. And only about 5% here. Finally, we're going to put the 12th grade in pink. And 7.4 more gets added. Should total to 40.2%. 35.8, adding 6.6 there. And 3.5 to 24. Okay, we can see that there was less overall interest in drama. The most interest was action. But my largest chunk, so we're here at romance for 11th grade, and really second largest was action for 9th. Last but not least, we can do a conditional frequency distribution. And conditional means instead of dividing by the total for the table, or 229, I'm going to divide by whatever I'm given. And I'm going to be given, in this case, grade level. So make sure to keep relative versus regular frequency. Regular frequency is the numbers, marginal adds the totals. Relative gives me percent based on the total. And conditional gives you percent based on a category. So here I've got 9th. With a little extra room there. 10th. 11th. 12th. Okay, so action for 9th. Instead of doing 25 divided by 229, I'm doing 25 divided by my total 9th graders, which is 62. That's 40.3% of my 9th graders prefer action. For romance, I take the 16 that's there divided by 62 and I get 25.8. For drama, I get 21 divided by 62, which is 33.9%. And these should total to approximately 100%. They should all total to 100%. Tenth here, I'm going to do 32 divided by my total 10th, which is 61, giving me 52.5%. 15 divided by 61 goes in my next box. 24.6. My last box, 23%, 14 divided by 61. Over here in 11th, 18 divided by 66, total 11th graders. 27.3%. 36 divided by the 66, 11th graders gives me 54.5% and 18.2% for drama. 20%, these ones come out nice divided by 40. 37.5% is 15 divided by 40. And action 17 divided by my total 12th graders is 40, is 42.5%. Okay, that is your test notes for your test.